What's going on YouTube? It's Craig, certified technician here at ApplianceVideo.com. And today we're going to go through the different portions of diagnostics on this Amana top-load washing machine. But before we go too far, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So the diagnostics on this unit is composed of a couple of different sections. What we'll do is show you the fault codes, followed by an automatic test cycle. Then we'll go through a UI test and a manual test cycle, finally wrapping it up with a UI and control calibration. So to go into diagnostics, you'll want to hit that center dial and bring it all the way to the normal portion. And then we're going to do a sequence of turns on this unit. So you'll go left, right, 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 left, right. If you have successfully entered diagnostics, the lights should blink. Now, to go to different portions of the diagnostics, you'll simply want to turn your jogger to the right. So the first thing we'll go to is the fault codes. Turn the jogger to the right until just the done LED is illuminated and press start. So error codes on this machine are indicated by blinking lights. What I want you to do is turn your indicator to the right, and it should show you your first error code if there's one inside the system. It'll pop up with a blink followed by a second blink. Your first blink is going to be the F. The second blink is going to be the E. So let's go through a couple of different error codes you may find inside the system. If the sensing light is blinking, this would mean that there's no fault inside the system. You may find a FOE2 for an over suds condition. If you have this error code inside the system, the first thing you want to check is your soap. A lot of times customers will use an entire cap of soap and pour it inside this machine. It doesn't need much, maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons. Reduce the amount of soap and it'll probably take care of your issue. FOE4 for a high water temperature in the rinse cycle. If you have this error code, check your water lines to make sure they're not reversed. Rinse is supposed to be cold water only. If you have the hot water line hooked on there, it'll more than likely throw this error code. FOE5 for an off-balance load detected. If you have this error code, the first thing you'll want to check is going to be your actual load inside the unit. Since this is on a hanging suspension, a lot of times clothes will get to one side of the drum, and when it goes into spin, it'll knock around. All you need to do is pause the machine, rearrange your clothes, start it back up, and you should be good to go. F1E1 main control fault. F1E2 motor control fault. F2E1 for a stuck key. F2E3 for a switch mismatch. F3E1 for a pressure system fault. With the pressure system fault, again, you want to check your soap first. This could range anywhere from a bad tube to a bad control board on this unit, but a quick, simple check and just making sure you're not using too much soap. F3E2 for inlet water temperature fault. There are 4 different lid switch faults, which would be F5E1, F5E2, F5E3, and F5E4. If you have any one of these error codes, it is a really common error code. There's one of 2 things happening. Either your strike, which is almost like the tooth that feeds into your lid lock assembly itself, could be damaged. If that's the case, it's a really easy replacement for a consumer, typically either a twist pull or it's held on by 2 screws. The next thing you might find is that the lid lock is actually bad. These lid locks can be difficult to replace, so if it is bad, you'll want to contact a service professional. There are 4 different error codes that indicate a problem with the system below, which could be your shifter, motor, or belt system. So the error codes are as follows. F7E1 for a basket speed fault. F7E5 for a shifter fault. F7E6 for a motor fault, and F7E7 for motor unable to reach targeted RPM. If you do have one of these 4 error codes, as a consumer, the first thing you want to do is tip this unit back and look at the belt system. Make sure the belt's not missing, make sure nothing has gotten sucked up inside of there, and that the gears look okay. If all of that looks okay, a lot of times what I find is that the problem is within the shifter underneath there. So if the belt and everything looks good, the first step I would do is replace the shifter. There are 3 different error codes that correspond with an inlet valve on this machine, and those error codes are as follows. F8E1 for a no-fill long fill, F8E3 for an overflow condition, and F8E5 for hot and cold lines reversed. If you have the no-fill error code, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have good pressure coming through both portions of the lines. Take the lines off, especially the cold water line, because this has a tendency to build up calcium inside of it, and spray it into that machine. And then make sure there's no calcium deposit built up on the back screen. If there is, sometimes you can clean it off, but if that doesn't work, you'll probably want to replace your inlet valve. The next one is going to be the overflow condition. What I find with this is that the inlet valve has a tendency to stick if calcium does go inside of it. So if your unit is filling and it is turned off and no power is coming to the unit, the problem is probably within your inlet valve. You'll need to replace it. And of course, the last one is the easiest one to fix, and that's the hot and cold water reversed. Just simply take them off the machine, flop them back over, and start it back up. And this will bring us to our last code, which is F9E1 for a long drain. If you have this dreaded error code, tip the machine back, and the first thing you'll want to do is check to see if something is stuck inside that drain pipe. A lot of times socks will get sucked down in there and end up clogging that portion where the drain line and the pump meet. Take that line off, make sure you have a couple of towels, and see if you have a clog. If you don't have a clog and water just pouring out of there, the problem is probably your drain pump. It will need to be replaced. Of course, this is the end of the actual fault codes. What I want you to do while you are in the faults portion is simply press and hold the start button until all of the LEDs turn off. This will clear the fault codes, and then you'll want to go back into diagnostics. By turning it back up to the center portion, go left, right, 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 left, right. Wait for those lights to illuminate to show you that you have entered diagnostics, and then we want to go to the automatic test cycle. So turn that jogger until the second LED from last is illuminated and press start. This automatic test cycle is a great time to listen for sounds and monitor the functionality of this unit within a short period of time. It probably lasts right around about 3 to 5 minutes. And once you press it, the first thing you'll find is that the lid is going to lock, followed by the cold water is going to turn on, and then the hot water. And then eventually you'll turn on a mixing valve. After that, the shift actuator will turn to agitate, and it will agitate that water just for a couple of minutes, followed by draining it out. At the very end here, it will move that shifter to spin, and then it will spin that unit at a high RPM, finally stopping and unlocking the lid lock. If you have replaced a part on this unit, that automatic test cycle is essential. During that agitation, listen for any type of grinding. Make sure that shifter is switching over to spin and that it's actually going into high-speed spin, and that both of those water valves are working correctly. This is once again a great cycle and essential after you've went through your fault code portion. After the automatic test cycle is completed, go ahead and press the start key one more time to exit it, and then you'll have to go back into diagnostics. Once you've entered diagnostics, I want you to turn that jogger until you get to where the spin and done lights are illuminated and press start. This is going to be a manual test cycle. During this cycle, we will activate in particular loads one at a time without it doing it automatically. So if you do need to do individual tests, maybe you heard something during that automatic test cycle, let's go ahead and activate each individual component. Of course, when you enter it, all of the lights will be off. You want to press the start button one more time, and this will lock the lid. After this, when you turn that jogger, certain LEDs will illuminate. So if we turn it to the right with the door locked, and I do recommend doing it with the door locked, the first light that will illuminate is the done light. Go ahead and press start, and your cold water will start to enter the machine. Then, once you want to exit that, press start one more time. Keep turning it, and then the spin light will turn on. The spin light is going to be for the hot water valve. Turn it on, turn it off, monitor the flow whenever you do this. The next 4 segments are reserved for future development, so we'll skip past that until your rinse, spin, and done lights are illuminated and turn it on, and this is going to be a drain portion. During this drain portion, obviously make sure you have a decent amount of water inside the machine from steps 1 and 2. Then, once you do it, make sure that you do not hear any grinding or any popping noises coming from inside that pump, and make sure the water exits at a pretty good flow. If it doesn't, again, take those lines off underneath. Make sure there's not a coin stuck in there or sock or maybe some type of feathers. put it back on and monitor it again and make sure it sounds good. These drain pumps can be a real problem, and if they have sucked down a coin, run this test a couple of times to make sure it's not going to intermittently fail. Moving forward, the next test again is reserved for future development. So we'll move to where the wash done is on, and your lid lock has to be on for this test to complete, but this will be a low spin test. So this will spin the basket about 500 RPM. Just make sure you do not have any noises coming from underneath or any problems with that shifter trying to move to spin. The next test will be with the wash and spin light on, and also with this the lid has to be locked, and this is going to be a high spin test. Make sure you do the same checks on this as you did with the low spin test. The next portion of manual mode here would be the gentle agitation, and to get to that your wash, spin, and done light have to be illuminated as well as the lid locked. During this portion, make sure you do not hear any grinding noises coming from that wash plate. A lot of times coins will get sucked underneath and cause it to be very, very noisy. But you also want to make sure that your shifter is moving accordingly. Since you were just at spin, that shifter should move to agitate, and it should make an agitation sound. If it sounds like your drum is moving, not the agitator, make sure that shifter is not giving you any issues. Next, we'll exit gentle agitation by pressing start, move to where the wash and rinse lights are illuminated, and press start one more time to enter a heavy agitation. Since this is going to be a heavy agitation, obviously you're going to have more movement. Do the same checks as you did during the gentle agitation and make sure that it's actually going to be moving faster. You should hear a different pitch coming from the machine. If you don't, you'll want to check out the underside. Now, this is going to be the end of the manual test mode. Go ahead and press and hold the start button to exit the whole manual test mode cycle. And then go ahead and enter diagnostics one more time by putting it in the center. Go left, right, 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 left, right until the lights illuminate. And we're going to move on to the manual test mode for the UI. To get to the manual test mode for the UI, you will have to turn the jogger a decent amount until the rinse and spin lights are illuminated, and then go ahead and press start. Once you press start, you can press start again to make sure the lights are going to turn off. But then you're going to turn each one of these joggers and make sure that the lights turn off accordingly. If it's a 3-step button, every time you click it, click, 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 or a 4-step button, you should see a light change every single click, showing you that every portion of that knob system is working correctly. The same with the timer. Go all the way around that center jog dial and make sure every portion is going to be working fine. And then once you're done with it, go ahead and press the exit by holding in that start button so we can go right back in and do a system calibration. A system calibration is advised anytime you replace a part on this system. It only takes about 5 minutes. So go into diagnostics, put the jogger to the center, left, right, 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 left, right. And then I want you to turn the jogger until just the rinse LED is illuminated and press start. And you'll see the lid's going to lock. All types of lights are going to flash on this unit. But be patient and wait for it to end. At the very end, the lid will unlock, showing you that you have calibrated the system. Go ahead and press start one more time to exit. And I do highly recommend unplugging the machine for about 5 minutes and then plugging it back in to do a hard reset before you start any laundry. And this is all I got on the unit. That's going to end it. If you need your tech manual, you can obtain it by either going to the manufacturer's website or posting it in the repair help section on ApplianceVideo.com. Now, YouTube, if you enjoyed my content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and as always, I'll see you next time.